Hi, my name is Tim. I'm Tim, the Real Life Toolman Taylor. That's my YouTube name. Anyhow, let's get started. Okay, so this video is what the title is, and I think I'm going to have a name the title. The title would be How to Buy a Car, or How to Not Get Scammed, in addition to how to buy a car. Okay, because if you buy a lemon, then you're getting scammed. Okay, so let's start this video. So I got my test vehicle here. It's a Ford Mustang, and I also have a story to tell you, to help you, or to let you know how people get scammed when buying vehicles. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Okay, so when you're buying a car and you're investing thousands of dollars, could be tens or it could be 5,000, and you're investing a lot of money, I would recommend going and buying an OBD reader, a cheap one, and it's good to have one of these in your house, whether you're a car guy or not. It doesn't matter. Because it can help you with your vehicle, and it can help you diagnose what codes you get. So that's what this thing does. So I believe what happens in normal life, and this is all related to the story, but I'll show you other things to keep in mind when you're buying a vehicle. But this is the device they use at AutoZone. When you have a check engine light and you go to AutoZone and you ask for them to read the code, and they'll read the code for you, and then they'll recommend some parts to fix. That's what this does. But I'm using it for another item to explain here on how to buy a vehicle. Okay, so to start off with, I'll tell you the definitions of what, like the key words that we're going to use in this video, and I'll give short descriptions and definitions so that you'll understand, and then you can watch this video over and over, or you can ask questions in the comments. But hopefully this video will explain it all, and it'll relate it on how to buy a vehicle without getting scammed using this. Okay, so first of all, every vehicle, when you're going through admissions, you need to pass admissions, and this is the device, the same device that they use, or the same concept that they use at the admissions place, that will say that your car is running good. So that's the bottom line. The bottom line is you want to know if the car that you're buying on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace is a good car. You want to know that the car runs efficient. And also the main criteria of passing emissions, because if it doesn't pass emissions, then the car is no good to drive. So this is exactly the same thing that they check at admissions. This is what they use at AutoZone, and then today I'm going to show you what to use it to when you're going to buy a car. Okay, so so this vehicle, I'll explain, but of course this vehicle doesn't have any check engine light, and I'll show you cases, if they did, and then how it relates to getting scammed when you're buying a vehicle. Okay, so in every vehicle, when you're doing emissions, the car itself needs to go through a drive cycle. You can go research in YouTube, you can research online on what a drive cycle is, but it's recommended, and to understand how the scam works, you should learn what a drive cycle is, and maybe even research on the car that you're buying on the drive cycle. But it's very simple. It's just very simple. Okay, so ideally you want to. Okay, so the definition of a drive cycle. So drive cycle is the car. So the car needs to complete various tests to diagnose. It kind of diagnoses itself. It kind of uses the computer, and then the computer will read a bunch of data, and during this drive cycle means you drive the car around, you drive it under any different conditions, and then the drive cycle is complete, and then you can use this to see, and admissions uses this to see if the drive cycle has been complete, and also there are no codes associated, and also, I mean, what's important is that the drive cycle is complete, and that's part of the scam. So I'll describe it to you when I plug this in. So that's the definition of drive cycle. So it's like an example of how they scam you, or how a drive cycle works is, or it gets reset. You can unplug the battery, or you can actually hit the erase button on this one, and then you can start the drive cycle over again. When you start the drive cycle over again, you won't get a check engine light, and then it'll need to go through its drive cycle, which on different vehicles it could take maybe over 50 miles, but it's not a quick test. Some could take days, but the car itself reads data, and sometimes it needs the car to be cold and then warm again, and then cold and warm again. So maybe it needs a couple of times when the car's been off overnight, but you can read with different vehicles what the tests are and what the drive cycle is for that vehicle. Okay, so let's just take the scenario of when you're going to buy a car. So you find a car on Craigslist in a marketplace, and then you guys you meet up to test drive the vehicle. It doesn't matter if the car has if you meet up at a supermarket. It doesn't matter if you're meeting him at home and they haven't started the car yet. All this doesn't matter. The first thing you do, and what I recommend, is plugging this in. And so you can ask for permission, and if they say no, then with the no, I would walk away. Okay, so with the no, just tells me that they're just hiding something. So they should not say no and disallowing you to plug this in. So you don't. What I'm trying to show you is what to check for, but I'm also trying to tell you what the scam is. And you have to really watch this video. I really would like to explain it within 2 minutes, but that's not manageable. So you might have to watch the video a few times. So you go to the meet, and you bring this along. You say, "Hey, can I plug this in?" He says no. I would walk away. If he says yes, that means he's confident that it should pass admissions, and you're just doing your basic tests. Aside from looking at the body, looking at the tires, looking at the oil and the radiator and the power and everything else. But what I'm saying is you can just do this first, and then you can continue to look at the car, or you can walk away. But there's also a scam in this, so I'm going to tell you what that scam is. Okay, so you take this with you. He says yes, plug it in. So you find the port, and this port, it's right here. You plug it in, and then you have to cycle the car on. Okay, so in this vehicle, there's no check engine light. So let me start over. Let me show you that there's no check engine light, because that's very important. In the car, I'm going to turn it on, turn the car on. And see, I have the door open, no seatbelt, and there's no check engine light that would show up. Okay, that's very important. Okay, I'm just trying to tell you my vehicle, so you don't necessarily have to do that. I'm just telling you. Of course, when you're test driving the vehicle, that's the thing. You don't want to see that check engine light on. But the scam is they hide that check engine light. Okay, so you plug this in, and I'll explain how they do that. Plug this in. Okay, so and then you turn on the car. You want to turn on. You don't have to start the car. You just have to cycle to on position, and then emissions will actually have you do that. Okay, I just had to get the radio turned on. Okay, so it's plugged in. Your ignition's on. So that way you know that you're actually reading the computer when the car is on, and then you plug it in. Okay, so we hit read, and you can see in here the 0 codes. So that's related to why I don't have a check engine light on. So that's a good sign, but there's more to the scam. Okay, so you want to continue to read, and then you want to read the monitors. Here is the main one on this particular one. So this one says 0 incomplete, means that it did all of 8 tests, or the 8 items it's looking for, and then it's ready to go to missions. You want to see 0 incomplete. Okay, that is what you want to see. The scam is this is not 0. Okay, so if this is something other than 0, you would walk away, or you tell him to complete the drive cycle, and then you come back and look at it with this device. So that's the telltale. If it says 0, you're good to go. Then you can continue to test drive it, but the scam is if it's not 0. Okay, so keep that in mind, and you'll understand the scam when I explain this to you. So you can continue to read, and then it says 8 ready, and those are the monitors that it needs, and these are the items that it checks for. Those are the 8 items. In this particular one, this OBD reader, it'll tell you which ones aren't ready. But if 1 is not ready, or 2 is not ready, I would mark that as a red flag onto buying the vehicle. Okay, the trick is how they hide it from you. Okay, so I'm checking the time here. Okay, so I want to show you this one because this one's more expensive, but it's the same concept. So like, I'm just going to show you a different example of a different OBD reader. You go to ready test. You click OK. And you can see all the monitors that there you can see it's all of them are ready. I believe so you can see they're all green checked, and you can see the green check mark. And this one you can check the codes. I think it's ODB. And then I'll tell you about the scam. So hopefully I covered everything. Okay, so code found 0. Okay. Yes. So read codes. So it says no codes. So you want to make sure that this car has no codes. But that's just the start. Okay. The idea is you want to see if it's ready. So you want to see this. If you have this one's great. This one will show you all check marks. You want to see all check marks, all of them are ready. That's like, in the other one it said 0 incomplete. If it had 1 or 2 incomplete, then one of these would be red. Okay, so the scam. Okay, I'm checking the time here. So the scam is very simple. Okay, when in every vehicle, when you unplug the battery specifically, or you reset the engine, that's like unplugging the battery. The car will have to go through its drive cycle again, and actually the check engine light will go away, because it'll basically reset its system and then start to diagnose itself again. So the scam is that the seller that their seller is actually hiding that check engine light. Okay, so that's what this does. So if you go and read this, so I explain to you, if you're reading this and you have more than one incomplete, that means the seller reset the system by unplugging the battery or hitting the erase button, and then that caused it to reset, and then you'll get a number here, because the reason why they do that is so they can hide the check engine light, because the check engine light, not many people know about this, so that's why I'm making a video about this item, because you don't need, like, they fool you on by hiding the check engine light by unplugging the battery and resetting the computer, or hitting this erase button. When you hit the erase button, it'll say erase all, and then it'll ask you, and then it'll erase the system and then start all over, and then you'll need a drive cycle, and then that drive cycle usually takes over 50 miles, but it's not a quick drive cycle. And then, but in that all time that you're test driving the vehicle, the check engine light is on. That's the whole purpose of them resetting or unplugging the battery. That's the scam. So let's see if I have enough time for my story. So my story was I was buying a BMW. The owner had this in this Ford. This is exposed. In the BMW, you can actually have a cap, and he had the cap off, and I think it's like located somewhere around here, and that was a red flag. He had the cap off, and then so he had this like in his pocket, and he was hitting reset. So he didn't. So maybe you met up with him, and you met him at a far distance. It doesn't really matter. You met up with him, and then before he meets you, he'll go plug this in, and then he'll erase it, or he'll maybe he doesn't have this, he'll unplug the battery, and then he'll erase the codes, and then the check engine light will go away for at least 50 miles, or until the drive cycle is complete, which I believe the drive cycle cannot be completed in a drive test of the vehicle of like a person going to take the car out for a test drive, and that's what happened to me. So he kept resetting it. I think he had this device because I said he had the cap off, and then he kept resetting it, and then I test drove it, and I said, hey, there's no check engine light. This car is great. And then I bought it, and then I went home, and then a few days later, the check engine light, after putting miles on it, the check engine light came on, and then that car had emission problems. So that's a scam. I hope that I described that scam to you very well. If you have any questions, just ask them in the comments, or you can comment on my video, and maybe make other comments about how you got scammed. But this is how you get scammed when buying a vehicle. So, in a nutshell, plug this in, see if they're all ready, then it's a green light that you can continue to go test drive. You don't even have to drive the car anywhere. I would look at this first. Once this is bad, you're gambling with the car. Or getting scammed. So you can walk away. Once you notice that it didn't complete its drive cycle, walk away. So that's my video. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.